And we are back with our second to last review of the off season. I think I'm going to stop here. I did 35 reviews, four of them being guys who were not on the Jets as they are drafted by their teams. But I did 31 reviews of Jets players, this being my 30th and 31st. So now I'm going to do Braelon Allen before getting into the last one, which will be Isaiah Davis, probably for me immediately after this, but for you guys, whenever, couple days, weeks, whatever it may be. But we'll get right into Braelon Allen and his season. Obviously, it's going to be limited. These are going to be pretty quick, only 14 plays because he didn't see a ton of snaps. But receiving touchdown, his first touchdown of his career. Okay, we have a screen where he leaks out, right? Not a ton, not necessarily a ton here, but you do see some of the speed in the open field, reading the block, which is relatively obvious where he should cut and that he should cut inside here with that defender widening with a offensive with the offensive lineman to the inside, but closes ground, gets to the 5 yard line, sees a tackler coming and decides to try to hurdle him. So the hurdle probably gets him a touchdown here. If he didn't, maybe his legs get taken out. Maybe he's able to maintain his balance and still get in the end zone. But nonetheless, the hurdle works. The effort mid getting like helicoptered, taking a hit from 38 is still reaching out there for a touchdown. So I like the effort there. I like the decisiveness. And again, effort just to throw a hurdle there and get his leg taken out, even while flipping in the air, reaching out for the end zone. So that's fun. First rushing touchdown. I believe they do open a crater for him here, but it's good speed and decisiveness, and I believe a stiff arm, if I'm not mistaken, or not even a stiff arm. Okay, um, good decisiveness, right? They're running mid to outside zone, outside or inside leverage versus outside leverage. You have a combo here, right? Not cutting back here. So good job being decisive following that. I think he gets two arms on the ball here, which is good. It's good ball security. As he sees a hand flash, get two hands on the ball, which is good. Drive for that arm tackle. Now it's a situation where, hey, I'm running nearly full speed to the outside here. This DB is sitting a little bit more, vertical. I'm gonna race him to the outside. Races him to the outside, and what I really like about it is it's not a stiff arm, but he prepares to wipe away the hand fight, whatever he has to do. Right, so the hand comes out. Right. He tries to defeat it, but by the time he defeats it, he's off balance and he's raced past him. So good decisiveness, good ball security. I like the fact that he has the awareness in the open field to stick his hand out just in case there's anything else coming there. So good job. Allen shoulder down for 11. Okay, obviously the running back, right? I'm gonna tell you. Mid outside zone in terms of reading gaps, right? Pretty obvious C gap that he's gonna cut into there. You have the linebacker filling, right? Reading the outside, gets his eyes into that gap, sees the defender filling the gap. Obviously, in terms of his leverage, he has more of a advantage to the inside because the defender's racing to the outside, so decides to cut up the field, explode, like accelerate through the arm tackle, which picks him up another 5, 10, 12 yards right there. So again, good job carrying plenty of momentum into that, not really slowing down, being pretty decisive, seeing the linebacker filling, but more of an outside angle. So knows the inside armor is weak, and obviously he's out leveraged to the inside. Accelerate through that, lower his shoulder for a couple of extra yards. Good job. Nothing into something. I believe Jeremy Ruckert just whiffs right here, and the guy's in the backfield immediately, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Jeremy Ruckert just an awful blocker. So hopefully he can improve and be actually decent when I doubt it, but we'll see. So again, another mid outside zone. As he gets the ball handed off to him, defender is immediately there. So just decides that, hey, listen, I'm kind of screwed here. I'm not going to be able to make a move or get lateral or spin or anything like that. I'm just going to lower my shoulder. He lowers his shoulder. Really powerful spot to be in. Obviously, 230, 235, a bigger running back, 225, 230, whatever it is. Lowers the shoulder, spins off of it, just using momentum against the defender. Right? Because now the defender's kind of falling over his back. So He's going to spin out of that. And instead of like a 3 yard loss, he gets like a 2 yard gain right there, looks like, right? See, about a, yeah, 3 yard loss into a, yep, 2 yard gain, maybe three. Good cutback. Okay, zero. Right, good job. Okay, so you have mid zone split. Reading here, reading probably about the B gap. Okay, not going to cut in there. It's you have to very delayed getting there anyway. So you're gonna start to bend this run back, bend the run back. See what this gap is filled, but there's a cutback opportunity. Cuts back. Now he's never gonna be a guy who's just gonna like explode and get lateral. Like it's gonna take a little bit of time for him to change direction because he's a bigger running back and he's not the most shifty guy in the world. Um, but obviously he carries a lot of momentum and there's other positives. He's pretty solid top end speed for his size and things like that. But it's good reading. You know, read about ABT. It's a little bit clogged up to his right side. Eyes flashed inside. Nope, not there. Get vertical. Cut behind that. Right. Cut behind that. Another defender taking a high angle. 2 arms in the ball. Work through that arm tackle. Lower the shoulder. Good job, Ion. Pass protection. What's the new saying? If you're not blocking, you're not getting the rock or something like that. I forget. But a good pass block. So Fashion who's locked. These guys are all in like a gap protection to their left. They're all shuffling to the left. He's going to fill anything in the B gap. So races to get there immediately. Eyes flash there immediately. Sees that linebacker blitzing, which I believe is pace. Breaks down, squares him up, drops the shoulder into him, pops him in the air. Continues, finds the block again, trying to get hands on. It's a good job. And getting low, dropping that shoulder, popping him, keeping Rodgers clean. You should have got rid of the ball already. Like, I don't know. Why not here to flash a purple, whatever. Move past it. I don't care about Rodgers anymore. Better spatial awareness. Okay. Zero. Like having better spatial awareness. So we got counter OH. So Simpson kicking out, he whiffs. He's got to do a better job again in space breaking down. I'm pretty sure I reviewed that in his review. Doesn't get a hand on. Gets a little bit overzealous. But Allen's gonna cut inside of that. What I'm talking about in terms of spatial awareness is like in terms of just reading space. If anything, and again, I get sometimes it's ideal to just pause it and say this, but he presses a little bit too far to the outside here. Like he works too close to Ruckert and then tries to cut off of him, and there's another guy right there. Now maybe he doesn't recognize him because he thinks Hansen, I believe, has him, but he's a little bit too close. I would like to see him run the field a little bit and really cut off the ass of your offensive lineman here and get vertical. Instead, works a little bit too laterally and ends up kind of bringing himself into a tackle. Whereas if he's a little bit more tight here, he could have picked up an extra few yards. Right. And if Hansen did his job there, he should be gone anyway. Like that's honestly a hard play to say that. It's a little bit of a nitpick, transparently. But if he were to be a little tighter, he could have got off of that. And Hansen needs to do a better job though. So he played Ruckert's block pretty, getting maybe a little bit too wide, but that is a nitpick. Drive for touchdown. Okay, zero. Right. So we got like duo. He's gonna work off of that combo block. Hansen gets stood up a little bit. Right. Tries to find an open gap. Patient with the feet. He's not overstriding right here. Right. Shorter strides. Just trying to figure out where to go. Sees the hole. Gets that foot out, explodes into it, 2 hands in the ball, and just drives the legs. And a lot of like what he did in short yardage situation in terms of just like creating, first downs, it was, hey, I'm just gonna put my head down and drive. And that's fine. Allen, 12 yards. Okay, zero. All right. So we have like a lead zone. Lead zone, reading the outside first. Smith, inside out leverage. You're going to cut inside of that. Now you go to Ruckert, right? Ruckert has outside in leverage. You're going to cut through that gap. He does. Ruckert doesn't get good hands on because he just lowers his shoulder. He's able to squirt through that gap, gets tripped up a little bit, able to maintain the balance for another couple of yards, pick up 12 yards. Solid job. Something out of nothing. Okay. I form against the Seahawks. Okay. Slow playing a little bit, waiting for his blocks to develop. He's gonna, ideally, this gap's a little bit cleaner and he cuts through there. I think he's reading that and realizes it's pretty tight. I'm not gonna be able to squirt through there. His eyes flash to the inside, maybe peripherally. He sees that gap is gonna be filled, right? Which it is because Tippmann doesn't do a good job on the second level there. Lets himself get undercut, which I think I broke down in his review as well. Right, takes away that cutback for Allen. Allen sees that, plants, gets outside. I think he stiff arms a dude. Did he stiff arm his own guy? I think he stiff arms Ruckert there. Yep, Ruckert, get out of my way. Bounces into him, cuts outside, stiff arms 53, picks up a few yards out of really something that shouldn't have been. Lack creativity. Okay, 0. Okay, mid outside zone, which mid is really just like more B gap, or like to the ass of the tackle, like the inside hip of the tackle, or outside, like the outside hip of the tackle. And then you have like wide, which is outside the tight end. You got inside, which is more, inside of the guard to inside of the guard, tight, which is like the center, belly, which is like backside. Okay, so takes the handoff, right? At this point, realize, okay, edge is set. It's not even, I don't even say like lacking creativity. I want to see his eyes be a little bit better here. Like realize that edge is stood up, immediately flash the inside, see that Leonard Williams is in that gap and decide to cut back. So he's a little bit late to cut back, or he's a little bit late to like read that, in my opinion. Looks like his eyes are outside. Now they're inside, then it's like, oh shit, two hands on the ball and just lower the shoulder. I would like to see a little bit better vision here in terms of, okay, Conklin's not going to create a lot of movement, good edge set, you know, inside versus outside there, cut back. And yes, I get 48's there, but again, if you could draw it up where everybody's blocked and you have one-on-one with a running back and a linebacker in a hole, you're going to take that. So I like to see him cut back and try to make a move on 48. Takes himself right into a tackle. 3 plays left, falls forward. Okay, 0. Okay, again, not reaching a little bit, I guess reaching a tiny bit, but it's just a thing where there's not a lot of plays. So it looks like we're going to have one back power, right? We get a blown block, so Simpson's on the first level. 20 is supposed to be blocked here, but it's not how it works. Cuts through the obvious gap, right? Sees 20 coming. You know, his move is just ducking his helmet here, ducks his helmet here, gets nice and low, drives his feet through contact, high legs to get out of there to avoid any foot traffic. Still gets hit by ABT, maintains his balance for a couple of extra steps, dives forward for a tackle. 2 plays left, 2 yards on 3rd and 1. Okay, from wildcat formation here, where we have power. Yep, power goes to follow his blocks, but immediately sees pressure through that A gap. Immediately sees pressure, doesn't want to cut into that. Decides to cut inside of it. Sees a little bit of green grass, just lowers his shoulder with 2 arms on the ball and just drives. Like the pop he has here. Just decisive, be decisive here. Just put your shoulder down, pops up the defensive lineman, knocks the defensive lineman on his ass, and just drives the feet. He knocks his helmet off. Maybe Tippmann does too a little bit, but like he gets contact right there, but he runs so hard that he plants him and picks up an extra yard, which gets him the first down. Create. Okay. 0. Mid zone. Mid outside zone. Okay. All right. Look at the edge. Okay. He's kicked out, but we have the D tackle expanding into the B gap. I'm going to cut inside of that. All right. I want to see himself, set himself up a little bit here. Even if you want to press this gap a little bit, but you have inside versus outside, outside versus inside. Press here a little bit and get inside, or even press here a little bit. He goes to free himself up, get lateral, cut back, but he kind of ends up just taking it vertical and cutting right into a tackle. I don't think he has the best creativity on this one. All right. Watch the highlights. We'll talk about them just a little bit for 41 seconds. Again, obviously not a ton to see in just however many limited snaps he gets, but and I have the list of strengths and weaknesses in his other review. In this one, a little bit hard to say that off the top of your head when there's not a ton of plays to watch, but speed, power, effort, for the most part, contact balance, pushing through arm tackles, consistent foot drive. Um, I think that he could have a little bit better vision. I think his decisiveness actually looked pretty solid. I think in college he lacked decisiveness at times, but in terms of creativity, I like to see more of that. Um, I would like to see him have a little bit better vision, set up his blocks a little bit better. But overall, a decent rookie year for Braelon Allen, and then we'll see how he progresses in year two. Appreciate you guys being here for a quick review of Braelon Allen, just looking at some of the plays. I'll be back with Davis.